anybody guess what it is? Chinese New Year. I'm sure you all knew that as I put my banner nice and straight. The 12th of February 2021. And it begins the year of the ox, or the year of the cow, in Asia. And it's the biggest New Year celebration on earth. It's the biggest one. Around about 1.2 billion people actually celebrate the Chinese or the Asian New Year in so many countries. We obviously have lots of Chinese who live with us in this country. We have lots of Chinese that live in many other countries. And all the Chinese will be celebrating, but also all the Vietnamese, all the Malaysian people, the Burmese people, that sort of thing. And everybody in that sort of area, Singapore, everything around there, they're all celebrating today. So around about 1.2 billion people actually migrate back into their countries. Now, obviously this year is different. This year there's very, very little migration due to the virus situation. But on a normal year, around about 1.2 billion people actually go back to their countries. In China alone, there's around about 1.3 billion people in China alone. But it's the biggest migration on earth, or would have been in normal years, all right? So it starts on the 12th of February, that's the brand new year, a bit like our 1st of January. But when does it end? Now, our year in the West ends on the 31st of December. So that will end 31st of December 2021. And we start a brand new year, 2022. When will the Chinese New Year end? Have a think. When will it end? It's not going to end on the 12th, or should I say the 11th of February, the day before yesterday's date. It's not going to end on that day. What it is going to do is going to end on a particular date, and it's governed by a particular thing. Okay? So does anybody who's watching now, does anybody who's watching at home, is anybody shouting out to your mum, your dad, or your teachers, I know what it is. I know what's what here. Anybody? Well, it's going to end on, believe it or not, the 31st of January, 2022. Okay? So that's when it's going to end. That will be the very last day. And it's going to go from the year of the ox or the cow right on to one of the big ones, one of the ones that the Chinese love. And it's going to go on to the year of the tiger. So 2022 is going to be the actual year of the tiger. Now, the way that they work out when a new Chinese or Asian New Year starts is on a cycle of the new moons. And the new moons is when no sunlight is actually touching the surface of the moon. And that happens once every 28 days. So if we all look out sometimes, and we look outside and we look up to the sky, often you can see the moon during the day. And when that happens, you can see the moon because the sun is shining on the moon. And we, on Earth, we get in between the moon and the sun, basically. We sort of like, cut off part of the moon sometimes, and it gives you lovely sort of like crescent moons, and it gives you half moons. And then when the sun can completely shine on the moon, it's known as a full moon. So a full moon always occurs 15 days after a new moon, okay? Between the 14th and 15th day, but we see it in the evening. So the Chinese basically base all of their New Years on new moons. And a new moon is when you can't see the moon because the Earth is completely in front of it, okay? So if this is the moon and this is the Earth, right? The Earth is completely in front. So if the sun is shining from here, you can't see it. But as it moves, as we move around, you start to be able to see parts of the moon. So it's the actual day when you can't see it. It's up there, or it could be up there at night or up there during the day. And it does happen at certain times during the day. It can be during daylight when it actually occurs. It can be in the evening when that occurs. I mean, scientists know all these sorts of things. But there's a particular time when it actually happens. So it's based on that. And at the end of the actual 15 days after a Chinese New Year, they have a huge party, all right, a big one. In fact, the whole thing kicks off on the first day of the new year, and it's a 15-day party. Imagine that for our new year, eh? 15 days worth of partying. Most of the Chinese people will really clean their house before the actual New Year's Day. And then they don't really touch the house for 2 or 3 days afterwards. They clean it, all the children, are you listening, children? All the children clean the bedrooms, clean everything. The house is spotless. And then they don't do anything again. I think, I could be wrong, but I think it's the 3rd day that they actually go, all right, we're going to start to clean the house again, this sort of thing. So they don't do anything, but they go, right, that's it. And the reason they don't do it is because they believe that if they clean the house, what they're going to do is they're going to clean away all the good luck that they've built up during the year. So they like to have it where the house is sort of taking the good luck through into the new year. Now, typically in China, on New Year, they actually give gifts, and the gifts that they give are often money, and the money is actually in red envelopes. So I have something. Okay, now this is, hopefully you can see that, this is one of the sort of red envelopes that was given to me a while back. It's a little bit sort of like worn on the sides and things like this. This is the red envelopes. Now inside the red envelope there are usually coins in there, and the actual how many coins are in there is really important. So if you have 7 coins in there, that's not very good. If you have 6 coins in there, that's really good. If you have 5 coins in there, it's not very good. If you have 4 coins in there, that's really good. Okay, are you getting the pattern? If you have an even number of coins in the actual red envelope that they give you, it's really lucky. It has to be an even number of coins, okay? If there's an odd number of coins in there, what you find is that's given out at funerals in China. So if you've got an odd number of coins, it's sort of commiserations, this sort of thing. If you've got an even number of coins, you would only get that at or on the New Year's Day in China, okay? So that's what you get. I hope you can see that red envelope, okay? Now you can buy them. I'll put a few over here. You can get them. I got some of these last year, and you can get those off sort of most places, and they come along. I mean, you can imagine, literally billions of people will have these, in China and around Asia. Excuse me. As most of you know, I've not been very well for the last few days, so my chest's a little bit gone at this moment in time. But billions of people can get these, so you can get these very easily. Now, I do have one very special note, not coins. I do have some coins actually, but I've got a really special note, a little bit like a £5 note that we have over here. I've got a really special one. So I'll just move this thing so here. We've got over here, got some of the coins, pretty similar to ours, what we've got, that sort of thing over here. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. So if I got those 4 coins there, and I had that in that envelope, that's a Happy New Year. However, if I take, let's say that one out, and I had 3 coins in there, that would mean we're at a funeral, okay? So it's very symbolic, very symbolic. Now, I do have something here that was passed down to me from my great granddad, and it's really precious, and it sits right in the middle of all of this lot. And this is, I don't know if you're going to be able to see this at all, but I can show you. This is the government of Hong Kong, and this is really old, and it says on here, it says 10 on there. I can't even read it anymore, but it says 10. It'd probably be £10, and this goes right the way back as a £10 note when the English first took over in Hong Kong, which would be 1897, something like that, because we finished in 1997. So it's got things on both sides here, but you can see that. Now I'm going to push this towards the camera so you might be able to see it a little bit more, but I don't know if I've got this in shot at all. So if I do that, you can probably see that. And this was passed down to me from my great granddad to my granddad, and he gave it to me. Okay, so this is actually one of the very first government notes that was issued in Hong Kong. If you got that in there, I don't know how much that's worth. I would imagine quite a bit, but I keep it very safe, keep it locked away, and I don't get that out very often. By the way, do you like that? Hang on. What do you think? Hello. He's waving at you, okay? I've got my panda hat on. I think I can make it light up as well. See if we can make it light up for you. I don't know. Hang on. Is that lit up? No? Just light up. Hang on. What's that like? Yeah, it's lit up. Excellent. I can see that in the corner. So that's one of the things that they actually give. Now, the Chinese really do pay a lot of respect to the people that have been their great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents. And in China, up until recently, they used to bury people, not in wooden coffins and things like that we have over here. They would bury people in old pots. So they would have huge pots, and they would put the person in, build the pot to fit the size, and they would take that person and they would dig a hole, and that person would say, right, I want to go over here on this mountain, I want to look over here, look over there. And they would take that person and they would pick their funeral plot, if you like. They don't do this now, but they did do it at the time. And a great friend of mine invited me some years ago to go over to China, and it would be on New Year's Day, to go over to China, and the whole family go up the hill, take cooking utensils, take food and everything, and they go to their great-grandparents' grave, and they will cook a meal, and they will put the meal there, and they will leave the meal, and they believe that that was food for their grandparents. And it could be literally a day's trek with all the cooking, you know, all the burners to cook the food and all this sort of thing. They would take it all the way over to wherever that person was. And my friend, his great-granddad, who he loved dearly, he was buried on a hill that was overlooking the sea. And you could look out to sea, and that was his favourite place that he ever went, and that's where they buried him. And every year, when they can all get together, the family, which this year sadly they can't, because they live around where I am and they can't go into Hong Kong at the moment from here, they will go there, and they'll probably do this next year, fingers crossed. Okay, so they get really, really, really sort of like some serious respect for those people, because without those people, they wouldn't be there. If you think about it, your grandparents, without them, your parents wouldn't be there. Without your parents, you wouldn't be here. So they really look at that. I think it's a beautiful way of remembering people, that sort of stuff. Now, the Chinese love the number 8, okay? And the number 8 is a big, big thing for them over in China. If you live at number 8, your house is worth more than the one at number 7 or number 9. If you live at number 88, your house is worth more than 87 or 89. If you live at number 888, it's worth a lot more money than the ones either side. If you live at 8,888, well, guess what? It's worth more money, that sort of thing. So they really do love it, but they also love the colour red, right? Now, I'm going to tell you a story, okay? I'm going to tell you a story of how the colour red came about. And this goes back many thousands of years. And it's the story of Nian. And Nian was a really, really big dragon. Serpent style sort of dragon. And this dragon used to come out in an evening, and he would go through the streets in the villages in China, and if he saw anything or anybody, he ate it. Okay, so every single night, all of the children in all of the villages, but particularly in the village in the hill where they used to live, where he used to live in the big hills, they would make sure that their children, mums and dads, would make sure that their children were indoors, okay? And all the curtains would be shut so he couldn't see who was around, this sort of stuff. And every evening, this huge dragon would come through. Now, one evening, the whole family in one village, this little boy and all his sisters and brothers had been playing outside. And they all went in, and the little boy was so pleased. He was playing and playing and playing. And he was so happy to be outside and playing that he forgot. And mums and dads, they were sat inside, and they shut the curtains, and they brought the food to the table, and they put all of the food on the table. And they started sort of talking with each other, and all of a sudden, Mum turned round to the dad and said, "Where is he? We have all our sons and daughters, but we're missing one. Where is he?" And all of a sudden, you could hear this booming coming down as the dragon came through. Now, I've got a dragon, okay? Not only do I have a panda hat, I've got a dragon. So, have a look at the dragon. Look at that. So this is fierce. So this could be Nian, okay? So, I shall turn him to face the camera. Camera, say hello to Nian, okay? This is him, all right? And now, he came down through the village. And as he came through the village, the little boy was stood there, and mum could hear, and all the mums and dads could hear this little boy screaming and screaming as the dragon got closer, so close to him. The dragon approached the little boy, and as he approached the little boy suddenly turned, and as he turned, he opened up his coat, and the inside of his coat was all red. All the coat was all red on the inside. He opened up, sort of like really scared, and the dragon looked down at him, okay, turned around and ran off. All right, he ran away. So the little boy, all the parents were stood. They all came out of the village, all the houses in the village, and they were looking, and they said, "How is this dragon? This dragon's been terrorizing us for years and years and years, and yet this little boy, a small, tiny little boy, suddenly turns round and the colour of his coat. What's the colour of his coat? Well, his colour of his coat is red." So all the villagers said, "Right, that has to be it." And the dragon, Nian, was scared of the colour red. Everything else he would eat: cows, pigs, goats, little children, right? Little children. Favourite snack. And he would come along, and for years he terrorised all these villages. And the one thing that made him scared was the colour red. So every single year in China, the colour that they wear on New Year's Day and New Year's Eve is red. Okay? They believe that that gets rid of all the nasty spirits, gets rid of all the all the would-be Nians, okay, out there. So that's a really quick story, of the actual reason why red is such a lucky colour, okay? So we're going to do a few. I'm going to do a few fun facts with you. I'm just going to end with this, right? A few fun facts for you. In China, the first person that you meet on New Year's Day will be your luck for the entire year. So if you meet somebody who was happy, who was really lucky, you know, who was really smiley, then that's how you're going to be for the rest of the new year, okay? Fun fact number 2. Some actually believe that if you use a knife or scissors on New Year's Day, you will cut off your good luck for the rest of the year, okay? A friend of mine once said that to me when I went round to his house and his parents were there. So that's one of the big ones actually. The other one is if you drop a dish, or if you actually break any chopsticks or anything like that on New Year's Day, you'll have bad luck for the rest of the year. Okay, remember these are fun facts, Chinese superstition. Okay, all right. And according to superstition, if you cry on New Year, you'll have a year full of unhappiness and sorrow. So if you've been following any of the films I've been putting up, I've always said to be positive, be really, really sort of like happy. And they believe that if you're crying on New Year's Day, then that's going to follow you all the way through. Right now, a fun fact not that many people know. This year is obviously the year of the ox, right? Now, we're in 2021, but in China, in many parts of China, they're not in the year 2021. They're actually in the year 4718, if I get this right, 4719, or I think it's 4658, all right, in different parts of China. You have to imagine China's a really, really big place. So we celebrate the year 2021, and in Hong Kong and the southern parts of China, all the same thing. Shanghai, Beijing, all the same thing, right? So if you're looking at a map of China, kind of like all this bit that goes around the coast, they're all celebrating the same thing. But in many parts of China, they actually have the year 4718 or 4719, I think I've got that right? Or 4658. Now that all goes back to the Yellow Emperor, who lived around 3000 BC. So that's a long time ago, right? Lived 4,718 years on one, or 4,719 years on the other, or 4,658 on another, right? And it goes all the way back to him. They can't agree on the actual start date of it, but the Chinese never stopped counting their years. Like we go back 2021 years, and we went right from that date. We're now going to count, and we're going to start the calendar again, and we're going to start to count. So we're in 2021, 2021 years since we did that. In China, they're 4,700 or 4,600, whichever one you want to go with. They're actually going right the way back beyond there. So it goes back right the way to the Yellow Emperor, all right? So it's not 2021 in many parts of China today, okay, which is really weird for people to think of, but it's actually the truth. The longest lantern parade, which was in Hong Kong a few years back, was around about the sort of like 2 miles. And what they do is on New Year's Day, they all sort of gather, but 15 days afterwards, when they end the actual New Year's celebration. By the way, the New Year's celebration, I don't think I've covered this, is called the Spring Festival, right? And at the end of the Spring Festival, I'm sure you all know this, at the end of the Spring Festival, 15 days after, they have the Lantern Festival. And the Lantern Festival is where they do all the dragon dances. The largest dragon costume that they made, I think, was around about 5.6 meters. So it was around 17 feet, 18 feet, something around there anyway. And obviously there are people inside that, and they'll have the sort of dragons, and you know, they put in cabbages, that sort of thing, to to feed the dragon, you know, and a good fortune, all this sort of thing. But the actual lantern festival, the very end of it on the 15th day, they all light lanterns and they all go and they walk around, and they did it where it goes snaked all the way around, and they had the big dragon sort of thing going all the way around a hill in Hong Kong. I think it was over 2 miles, something like that. Thousands of performers were snaking through the streets when they did it. It's absolutely huge. I mean, this year, sadly, they won't be able to do it. They're not going to be able to do that. One of the other sort of things, the last fun fact I'm going to leave with you, is rubbing of Buddha's tummy. They love to do this, and they believe it actually brings good luck to them if they rub Buddha's tummy. Okay, so I have a Buddha's tummy, which is this happy chap over here, right? And they believe that if they rub his tummy, can you see him laughing? You see a smiley face because I've just made him laugh. Yeah. So rub his tummy, and they believe it's good luck. This is particularly shiny tummy. Rub it all the time. Okay. So they rub his tummy, and it makes him laugh. All right. Can you see this? So they believe in actually rubbing Buddha's tummy actually makes him laugh. Anyway, I hope that you've enjoyed it. I apologise, I haven't been able to do anything over the last couple of days. I've not been very well. So, and I probably don't sound very well at the moment. But I've tried to do something which is hopefully you like. We've covered most of the things. There's loads more. They do something every day on New Year's Day, and I can't quite remember the sort of like various little nuances of what they do. But if you take anything from this, remember the colour red is fantastic and keeps away all the bad things. And rubbing Buddha's tummy makes him laugh. Okay. Apart from that, have a really lovely day. And I will say Happy New Year in 2 ways in China, okay? One is in Cantonese, so Gong Hei Fat Choi, okay? Gong Hei Fat Choi. That is in Cantonese, right? Or Xian Nian Kuai Le, which is in Mandarin, okay? So Xian Nian Kuai Le. And last one's in Mandarin. Have a really lovely day, everybody. And hopefully I'll see you real soon when I'm back outside, fighting fitter and doing some more Tai Chi live streams for you. So when I come round now, I'm going to turn the film off and I'll send it out to you. Okay? Take care, everybody. Hang on. Bye. See you.